Give me a little bit of volume, Chris.
Hello.
Thriller,
Hey, what's up?
what's going on, man?
Man, just working, man.
You working?
Yeah,
I called the office, man. The voicemail came on.
I know. I stepped out of the office in my conference room.
All right, man. So I think you about you be the fourth guest, man, on the little Spartan Dawg Podcast.
Okay.
Uh, I had the opportunity to run in the thrill this, I guess, past week. I had a fellow classmate that passed away, so I'm at a funeral. So we ain't got no prep work, man, but I got a little format that I'm gonna follow. So I'm gonna shoot you some questions, get some answers, and hopefully we'll connect with a couple people out here that ain't heard from you in a minute.
Okay.
All right, so how I like to start off, man, is like where you at, Thrill? Where you living at these days?
Well, I'm back in Farmington Hills. Been here for a little while. Um, yeah, I let's see here. After I got done at Michigan State, I had a little opportunity with the Bears and up in Canada. So I spent some time in Montreal and Chicago, and then found my way back to Farmington Hills.
And then with the real quick with the Bears, what did you do? You did 2 years practice squad, or what did you do after school? So after Michigan State, you was dealing with the Bears, or
Well, well, right out of Michigan State, I got didn't get drafted, unfortunately, and had to go the free agent route, and ended up with Detroit Lions, with the Lions, and so I did that whole training camp deal all the way to the end, last cut, that whole story, and then they let me go, and I was picked up on the Bears, and they added me to the practice squad, which I thought was a great opportunity just to get my foot in the door and prove myself from that standpoint. And so I did that first year with them. The second year, I thought I had a pretty good shot at making the team, and got injured in training camp, and they said they wanted to put me on the practice squad until I got better, and they thought they would bring me on to the actual roster. And never really quite healed that whole year. If you ever had an ankle injuries, those things take a long time to heal up, and never they never brought me up. So I spent the second year on the practice squad, and then going into my third year, I was just a victim of the numbers, man. They got a veteran receiver for on the cheap, and I was the one that was expendable. So they let me go, and from that point, I was just trying to decide what I wanted to do, if I wanted to move on with my life or continue to try to pursue the game of football. And after consulting with a lot of people who I trust and coaches and that type of stuff, they said, "Hey, if you still got it in your blood, just go and do it. You don't want to regret it." And so Montreal, they called me up, the Alouettes, and they said that, "Hey, you have nothing to lose. If you come on up here, we know you'll enjoy it. But if you don't like it, we'll let you go. No strings attached." And so I said, "Okay, I'll just go ahead and try it. I had nothing to lose." And I went up there, and I was starting the second. I played the first week a little bit until I learned the system. In the second week, I was starting, and I did that for 2 years. And then my second year there, starting and everything, I blew my knee out. Went up for a pass, came down, took a shot from the side, and I said, "That's it."
that was it?
That was it. It was time to join the real world.
Yeah. So on there, like who kind of, I mean, was it anybody at state that kind of facilitated any of those situations for you? I mean, was Perlis involved? Any of your position coaches, or how did
No,
those opportunities come about?
right. So no, the short answer to that is no. None of the coaches, to my knowledge, were made any calls for me. I don't know what happened behind the back doors or anything like that. But so and that was the thing. Our senior year is when GP was let go.
Right.
And so, if you recall, like all the previous years, whenever it was pro day or scouts, when the scouts came in, GP had a lot of pull, and he was well known in the NFL. So, I'm sure he was able to move and shake a few things for some of the previous guys. But on our way out, it was kind of like, it was like a ghost town, really. I mean, all the coaches were gone. Pro day was put together, but we didn't have a head coach, and so we were kind of it wasn't didn't have the same feel as the previous pro days when you would see GMs and scouts and all that kind of stuff there. So I had some workouts, some individual workouts, and and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't. It was kind of like we talk about it today. It's kind of like we were out there kind of on our own during that little hiatus, trying to figure out, who had our bag. But
So all your 5 years was all GP. You didn't do any
yeah,
understatement?
nope, nope. My
Okay.
last year was GP's last year.
Okay. All right. Now, before I get to the Michigan State, man, I like my thing to be like our regular conversation. So usually when I
Right.
pick up the phone, I'm gonna ask you about Jean. You know what I mean, and the kids. So how long your wife Jean is from? She's from what, Canada, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's from anybody from the Detroit area, Michigan area, they know about Island. So that's Amherstburg, Ontario. So that's just right outside of Windsor.
All
So yeah,
right.
she's from there. All her family's her mom's side is from that side of the border, and her dad was from Detroit.
All right. Now, how many years y'all count, man? I was at the wedding. Yeah, yours was the first trip I flew after my back surgery. I was worried about I was gonna make it, but
Yeah,
how many years y'all been married now?
be 15 this year.
15 this year. All
Yeah,
right. And then y'all blessed to have 3 kids, right?
yeah, yep. I got Jamie, who's just she just graduated from Alabama State. She went there on a volleyball scholarship and finished defensive player of the year. Was captain. They went to the NCAA tournament like 3 out of her 4 years, and she graduated magna cum laude. I think it's at the highest of whatever it is, 3.7. That was her GPA. But now, she positioned herself well. She's working at Google in Ann Arbor. She just started that position, so I can get her out of my pocketbook.
Right.
Uh,
I
yeah,
need to get in her pocketbook.
right, exactly. Yeah, she
So
getting
so
it.
real quick. So though you and Gene married 15 years, you guys got one kid together. Then Gene
Mm-hmm.
had Michael, and you had Jamie
James,
with Nikki from when we were in college, right? All right.
right.
So Jamie's the oldest, and you said she just graduated, and she's working at Google, right?
Right.
And then she's going to be in Michigan, or is she traveling to
She
California?
in,
Or
no, she's in Ann Arbor.
okay, all right. So we
Yeah,
got one. We 1 for 1 with her, right? She full
yeah,
scholarship, but she played volleyball, but had a full academic, or how did that work?
yeah. So she actually she got a full ride academically. So when she came out of when she was graduating, she took a black college tour through one of the churches, and so we sent all of her information out to all the schools that she would be traveling to. So her video, her little resume, and so we were able to prearrange some visits on that black college tour. And long story short, Alabama State, they looked at her grades, transcripts, they liked her, they met with her, and they said, hey, you can come on a full academic ride, which I told her I was more leverage for her. Because if you ever got in a situation where you didn't enjoy playing volleyball anymore, you don't have to,
Right.
you know, you're not handcuffed. So she, again, she took advantage of that and did well, was a team captain and had a great 4 years.
All right, and then we going in order. So
Right.
Michael, that was
Hmm.
Gene's daughter, but you adopted Michael, stepped up like we do, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
And so what's the story with Michael? We 2 for 2 now, right?
Yep. So Michael, she's the middle one, and so she also is very athletic. She's probably the most athletic out of the two girls, probably in the family. She's probably could be the most athletic, and so she got a full ride to go to again volleyball. We were a volleyball family, so with the girls. So she got a full ride to go to Appalachian State. So if you go to Appalachian State, if you ever take a visit, if you tell them you're from Michigan, they all assume that you're a U of M guy or a
Right,
fan, and so they quickly talk about the game. And I say, hey, I'm on y'all side.
right,
So
right.
But anyway, she had the visit there and decided to go there. Beautiful campus, in the mountains, all that kind of stuff. But she spent a year, not even a year there, and it just wasn't a good fit for her. Um, she just didn't feel comfortable. It just wasn't a good fit. So we had to take a take it upon ourselves to try to go through this whole recruiting thing once again. But we only had like maybe a month to get it figured out because it was right after the season over winter break. And we reached out to some of the schools that previously recruited her, and Alabama A&M, stepped up, and some other schools. But we took a visit there over the break, and we hit the road and drove. And man, it was a long week. And long story short, they offered her opportunity to come there, full scholarship, and that's where she's at. She's loving it.
Right. And then the youngest is was he the fourth?
No, the third.
Mill the third. All right. So
Yeah.
little Mill. So how old is Mill? Or Mill? How old is he now?
Yeah, Mill. He's 11. He'll be 12 next month.
And what is he into? Everything? Football, basketball, or what?
Yeah, he into all the sports. I mean, football is his favorite, and we did baseball and basketball and track. So if we had to rank him, football, and it'd be probably basketball. And he was decent in baseball, but baseball was a little too slow for him. He's a lefty, so he couldn't play any of the infield positions, and so he played outfield. And so we did that for a couple of years, and then I got him in the track, and I didn't realize how fast he was in track, and he kind of tore it up for his age group. And he really doesn't like track, but I kind of I make him run it. One, because it makes him work hard. He got a little lazy bone in him, right. So I make him run track to get that out of him. But
one story on him that was funny. You said y'all was having a problem with him at practice because he was lazy, right?
Right.
I don't know if you remember the story. So y'all pulled out a technique where y'all had some girls running, and he didn't ever want to let the girls beat him, so that helped him.
Yeah, we paired them up. We put them in a group with, usually at that young age too, girls are a lot of times are faster than boys. So you got 11, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old. A lot of times you'll see some girls that are a lot faster than the boys, and because they mature faster. And so he was dogging it a little bit. So we put him in the group with this little girl named Morgan who could really run. And we had never seen that boy work in practice like that. And shoot, so that's kind of our threat to him. We're gonna put you with Morgan if you don't start working hard. But we did track a little bit, and I pulled him out this year because he had a few injuries that kept nagging him. And I just wanted him to get healed up. So we kind of skipped out on track this year, and we'll be back at it next year, though.
All right. And then you most people, I don't never have to talk about their parents because everybody didn't know their parents. But everybody that was in there from our years and around know your moms and pops and your brother, Sydney or whatever. So what's up with moms and pops? What they doing now?
Right. So mom is still moms, man. She trying to save the world. Trying to help everybody, trying to cook for everybody. Can't make her sit down,
right?
So she's still the same. She's still plugging away. Got to make her sit down sometimes because she was having a few back issues or nerve issues in her legs, so it was she would have to pull out a cane every now and then. But she's getting around a lot better now, and so she's doing well. My dad, anybody that knew him, he was a long time State Farm agent. Had his own agency for over 20 years, and then went independent, had his own agency there for about 10 years, went into retirement, and then came out of retirement to work with me. So he's working with me in the insurance and financial field, and he's still, in pretty good shape, work out still, and he's plugging along.
So you guys, I want to talk about that too. So after, the football, the Canadian League, you jumped right into what you're still doing now, right? Dealing with the financial services.
Correct.
Right. And so like you just said, way back when you sold me my life insurance, I still got it. I appreciate it. But you and Pops, like I said, it's pretty cool to see you jump out there on your own and then kind of come back and you guys set up your own organization. So if people are out there listening, tell us a little bit about, your company and how people can reach you and what kind of services you guys provide.
Yeah. So, like you said, when I was backing up a little bit, when I was in college, I was able to get involved in the financial services industry through internship. So that's kind of how I got my feet wet with it, and I still stayed kind of connected when I was playing. And when I finished playing, I saw as an avenue to come back into the business, and t- did it for with a couple other companies prior to going off on my own. And I have my own Horace Man agency, and it's the Mill Coleman agency, and we're out in Brighton. Our office is located in Brighton, Michigan, and we do insurance and investments. We work with all individuals. Our core market that we work with is educators, but we service everyone. And my dad and I had always talked about, even when I was little, about us having our own company together. And at that time, I didn't have any idea what it would be. We had talked about having a car dealership one time, because my dad's done a little bit of everything. And so he had a car dealership at one time. So we talked about, hey, let's do a car dealership. And then, even though he was with State Farm, I had some opportunities to jump in with him right when I got out of college. But, I had my sights set on trying to give it a shot in the NFL, whichever, most college players, they want to at least have a shot. So I put that on hold for a little bit. And it's just kind of funny how everything happens. It comes full circle, comes back around. And when this opportunity with Horace Mann came about, because I always focused on investments and life insurance. And my dad was always property and casualty, which is like your home and auto. And with Horace Mann, the agencies, we do all of that. So my dad, he basically handles all the property and casualty side of the business for us, which is sort of the home and auto, and I still deal with what I know, which is the investments and insurance.
Cool. So if people out there and they do have stuff, it's nothing for you to take a look at it. That doesn't really cost anything, or help them switch if they want to be with somebody that they got a relationship with, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
then are you limited to just Michigan, or if they out of state, or how does that work?
No, I can go out of state as well. In our business, you just have to be licensed in a respective state that they're in. So, just if someone's in another state, I can definitely get licensed to deal with them and help them out.
All right. And then, so that's the main job. And then what about the little side hustles, man? You've been plugging around with that Michigan Elite and working with the kids and quarterbacks. Can you talk about that as well?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I've been doing camps for, man, ever since my first camp was like when I first got back out of playing ball, which was in like in '98. And I did like a little local community camp, and then I started doing youth camps through the Parks and Rec. I would do them every summer, and then just the whole camp environment has changed, to the recruiting and camps, and I mean it's on a whole nother level. But I have a couple partners who I work with. One, most people from Michigan may know him. His name is Ron Rice, played with the Lions. So Ryan and I partnered up, and another guy named George Yarberry, who's worked with Rivals, that did all the recruiting stuff in the state of Michigan. So we all came together and formed a group called Michigan Elite Football, which is a 7-on-7 in football training organization. And we were like the first group in Michigan to start. So we were kind of like one of the founding fathers in Michigan of club 7-on-7 football. And so we do youth and high school training, and then we also train college athletes who come home in the summer and look to go to the NFL. And so we do individual training, group training. We also have a club team where we travel and we play in 7-on-7 tournaments, Midwest and nationally in tournaments as well. So it's been, it's been crazy to see how this whole thing has evolved, because, my daughters have always played club volleyball, and club volleyball is huge. I mean, if you go to a tournament, I mean, you got thousands of teams there with hundreds of college coaches walking around. And, I think that, to some extent, 7-on-7 has been lumped in gets a bad rap because, you know, sometimes AAU basketball gets a bad rap from, and I think with just about anything, there are good organizations and there are bad organizations,
Right.
and who don't do it the right way. But we've been Michigan Elite. We do it the right way, and we believe we do it the right way, and we believe in what we do. And we've been interviewed. We've been interviewed on the news and newspapers, and we got our fair of people who really support us, and we still have our group of people who don't agree with what we do.
Right.
But again, we believe in it, and we're at MichiganEliteFootballClub.com. You can go there and check that out, and see that's our website, and see what we're all about.
Yeah, you helped create North Carolina Elite.
Yeah, yeah. Myron.
Hey, Bubel said just copy everything Thrill doing, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Myron called me up, and we got to talking about what we're doing, and he saw the vision in North Carolina to be able to do the same thing, and we just try to give them the template of what works for us, and we trying to continue to grow this thing, because we've seen where other organizations have partnered with out-state organizations to even grow even larger. So, we're looking at opportunities to see if we can do some stuff together too to make this thing even bigger. But yeah, we enjoy it. It's
Bubel ain't even want to think of a name, huh?
Nah.
All right,
Yeah.
so then now we on to Michigan State, man. How you I think I know your final two. I thought it was Colorado and Michigan State, but maybe you can tell
Right.
me it was different. But your final two coming out of high school, man. I mean, you a high school kid. You got a nickname. How many championships y'all win, man?
I went two out of three when I was there. So we went to the States 3 years in a row. Lost in my sophomore year by like a touchdown, and then the next 2 years we went undefeated. So
playing quarterback, right?
Quarterback, yep.
All right,
was a quarterback, yeah.
So then you recruiting, and I just have to say, man, I remember we got to school, your high school highlight film looked fake, man. Hey, you look like you was Moses parting the Red Sea, man. People was just laying down. I'm like, man, get out of here. So it was weird being from California. I don't know nothing about or anything about Michigan football, so I'm staying with this dude Mill, and everybody was like, you staying with the Thrill, and you staying.
Right.
And I'm like, man, who is this dude, man? And everybody, like we do, used to get in there and show your clippings and all this stuff, man. That is a crazy thing or whatever. So there, I mean, would that have been your final two when you was making your decision? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know what? It actually, I had three, and then it was obviously you nailed it: Michigan State, Colorado, and then I had Michigan on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were the only three visits I took. And I had some more visits scheduled, but I canceled them. I think I had Ohio State scheduled and somebody else. But man, when I went to, I tell you first, when I went to Michigan, it was cool. It was cool to visit, but it just didn't feel like home. And there was a funny story there is when the thing that really turned me off was, and I can't even remember the coach's name, but I'm a quarterback, and anybody who knows I'm not the biggest guy in the world.
Right.
But so the coach was like, hey, you should switch your position. And I'm like, I'm on this visit, and everybody's recruiting me as a quarterback, and he's like telling me I should switch, and if I don't switch, I'm being selfish. And I'm looking at this dude like, what are you talking about? I said, I want to give it a shot, but if I don't make it, then I'll switch.
Right.
But off the rip, he was just telling me, I'm selfish if I don't switch and this and that. And I said, I know I ain't going to Michigan.
Yeah.
So I started writing on the wall. So I was like, all right.
I mean, did you have you had a lot of passing records in high school, right? Or
yeah, I had the state record. I held it for like 20 years.
Right.
I think it was recently broken. Maybe 5 years ago when everybody started throwing the ball all over the place. But I had this yardage and touchdown passing records. Yeah.
And he like
Yeah.
you don't need to play quarterback, huh?
Yeah. He told me I don't need to play quarterback. He said you need to go ahead and switch. And
Okay.
I said, well, if I don't make it, I'll switch, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And
Right.
then I was I was selfish for not, I'm thinking only of myself. So I was like, you know what, I ain't gonna even deal with this. So,
Right.
but then I took a trip to Colorado, and at that time, Colorado was on the up and up. They was doing a lot of great, and they were running that wishbone and throwing the ball around, and they had a quarterback that was similar to me in height and stature, named Darian Hagan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I could see myself in just like him. And that's kind of how they were selling me. I was the next Darian Hagan, and this and that, and I took a visit out there, and it was they were practicing for the Orange Bowl. It was just the right time, the right place, and but it was just a little bit further than what I wanted to be away from home, because anybody who knows, I'm pretty close to my family,
Right.
and it would have been really hard for them to come out there and see me play. So
So if Colorado would have been in Michigan, you might have been a Buffalo, huh?
it would have been it would have been a lot tougher decision. But
Oh,
I went to state camp for like every year since my eighth grade year. I went to the Michigan State camp every year, so all the coaches knew me. I knew all of them. And I tell people people say like eighth graders get offers now. GP offered me when I was an eighth grader,
really?
and I thought he was bullshitting me. And he was like, I'm offering you a scholarship, and I kind of looked at him like he was crazy, because and then I saw him like in college. When I would see him in college or after college, he was like, "You remember I offered you when you were an eighth grader?" And I started laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, I remember that. I ain't believe what you were doing. I thought you were just doing that old recruiting thing." So, but it felt like home. It felt like home, and it was just felt like the right place. So.
So then on your thing too, you redshirted and all that stuff, and then
hmm
do you feel like you gave it a shot at quarterback and then was willing to make the switch, or how did that kind of play out?
Yeah, I mean, people, I switched on my own. So my first year I redshirted, so I pretty much knew I wasn't going to play. Danny Enos was there. He was a fifth-year senior. He was the man, captain of the team and all that. So I knew what time it was my freshman year. I knew I was going to get redshirted. My second year, we had Jim Miller. Then they brought in the transfer, Brett Johnson from California. So he came in, and then we had John Gieselman and some other people that had been there. So again, I knew it was going to be a battle, but I thought, I had a good shot. But I knew Jimmy, had been there a couple of years, had played, so I knew it was going to be tough. And so then they started wanting to work me in just a little bit. So I would go from running quarterback to the receiver, playing receiver in practice my redshirt freshman year. I was doing a little bit of both, and got a chance to play both. And then going into the sophomore year, Morris Watts and GP pulled me in the office, and they were like, "Look, um, you can either basically start at receiver, or you can still battle it out at quarterback. It's up to you. You make the decision." And I was like, "Shoot, I want to play." But I ended up that year. I mean, it was fun. Ironic, not funny, but ironic that you know, all the guys went down at quarterback. I
Right.
don't know if you remember, Jim went down, Brett went down, Gieselman went down. So I ended up having to come back and start like 3 games at quarterback,
Right.
and which was kind of hard. It was difficult because you try to change your mindset, and I just tried to remove the QB from my mind and just play wide out. So I had to try to reshape my mind and everything to do it. So
Now, when
yeah.
when you made that decision, you talked to your dad about it, or did you think it over, or when the coaches said it, you was like, "I'm gone," or did you just you
No,
just
we actually had a meeting. My dad came up to the meeting with me, and we sat in Coach Perlis's office and listened to what they wanted to do with me at the wideout position, and how they wanted to try to utilize me. And so yeah, so that's kind of how I made the switch. Now going into my senior year, um, that's when Tony Banks came on board.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember them telling me, "Hey, if we don't get Tony Banks at quarterback, you're gonna be our quarterback." And I
Right.
just kind of, I'm like, I'm like, oh shoot. All right, so we got to try to figure this out. So they still, wanted to have me play some QB. But I tell you what, man, if the systems that they got in place now, that spread offense, the way that they utilize quarterbacks and that spread offense now, if that had been around, I don't know if I would have ever made the switch the way they run the offenses now. So
Right. All right. So cool. So people that don't know, me and the Thrill, we stayed together 4 years. Right. We stayed together at camp, at spring break, at summer break, or whatever. We
right,
just we just lived together forever. And like I said, being from California, it was a blessing to be paired with you. We used to talk in the summer and all this stuff, and with the family. I'm respectful of. I think your mom and them are coming up on their 50th anniversary. My parents are coming up on, I think, on their 40. They just had 47, so I think it's coming up on 48. So out of respect, I've never been the type of person to call anybody else mom or pops. I call my mom and daddy. So I call your parents moms and pops because I still respect my
hmm
parents, but they just been around all that time. Now, we got to get to like I said, we live together, man. So people know Mill the Thrill. You got a couple nicknames that we know is Dirty Mill and some other stuff, but I ain't gonna get into you on there. I ain't gonna. We like to keep Mill the Thrill pristine, so we gonna leave it like it is. But I don't know. Do you know that you got me kicked out of the football building and almost didn't get my scholarship renewed? Do you know that?
I got you. Well, I heard you told me about. I mean,
Yeah.
I
So
had no idea.
yeah.
I
So
had no
me and
idea.
Mill came in together.
Yeah.
Mill red shirted. I red shirted. Mill was on schedule to graduate after 4 years, and I was on schedule to graduate. Mill graduated after 4 years, and they signed his scholarship, no problem, agreed to pay for him to go to grad school. I had got that spinal injury, so I wasn't playing no more, and when I was scheduled to graduate after 4 years, GP said he wasn't paying for my 5th year. And so when I'm sitting in the office, as people know that played, we didn't have 4 or 5 year scholarships, and they still don't. You have to renew them every year. So I'm
Right.
sitting in the office and I go in to get my scholarship signed, and GP just cussed me out. He's like, "Man, I'm not signing shit. You've been using us. Get the F out of here." And he threw me out. And before he threw me out, I said, but I said, I said, me and Mill came in together, and Mill graduated after 4, and you paying for his 5th year. You mean to tell me you're not going to sign me because I injured and you, God damn it, don't you go bringing up Mill Coleman. Mill Coleman's a great fucking guy. He's a valedictorian, and you don't fucking bring up Mill. Get the fuck
Uh,
out of my office and blah. He threw me out, dude, and wouldn't sign my scholarship. And I had to go talk to Clarence Underwood, and he told me to go back over there, and I think he must have called GP, and GP didn't realize, and he threw me out again. And so
right.
what I ended up having to do is I ended up dropping some courses that I needed to graduate after 4 years. And because I didn't graduate, he had to sign for me to come back a 5th year. But when, you couldn't bring up Mill Coleman, man. What they say,
Man.
you be sitting in the office, Drac, you got a whole card? Mill Coleman, you got a
Right.
card? Nope. You know what I mean? So yeah, and then the other thing was the trip was, in high school I wore number 6. I didn't know who you was. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, why they get this little dude number 6 or whatever?
Right.
So I will tell people, I am gonna tell this story of one of the benefits of living with Mill the Thrill is when you go on the road, like when we went on the bowl game my first year, I stayed with Mill.
Right.
And as you guys know, when you go on the road, all the coaches come check your room, right? Well, when you live with Mill, they don't come in the room. They just, hey, they just, they just open the door and be like, knock on the door. Mill, you in there? Yeah, we in there. And
Right.
not knowing that I got 2 girls laying on the side of the bed. So that was one of the benefits. Other than that, I
Right.
ain't telling none of the meal secrets or nothing like that. But
All
I don't know if you
right.
got any stories to share about, your relationship with GP, Coach Watt, Coach Baggett, and stuff like that. But it'll be cool to kind of get a cool story about that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think here, man, because I obviously GP was our head coach, and then Coach Baggett was he was was my receiver coach for a couple years, and we had Coach Pete Skip Pete. He was also that's Rodney Pete's brother. He was our receiver coach. But and then Coach Watts left, and he came back. But I mean, a lot of the coaches they pretty much they left me alone a lot. I didn't I didn't do a whole. I
Did
tried.
you ever get cussed out?
But not really. Yeah, but not really. I got more of a stern talk, and I ain't never really get cussed out by the coaches, though, man. I
Okay.
mean, in terms of you know, leaving your helmet on the ground or dropping the pass every now and then. But I didn't get really cussed out by the coaches, man.
Really?
Yeah, no, not really. Nope, nope. But I do know. I know living with you, man. That was also quite a few stories too, though.
Oh yeah. Hey, I mean, like I said, I remember one time I used to fight a lot. So I guess they
Right,
say me and Ike and Emil wasn't fighting. But one time, I think that might have been the one when the dude had the Michigan jersey on. And
right.
I never was the type to go get anybody. So even though they had about 20 people, I knocked the dude out and proceeded to get scuffed up. And I think Mill had to knock somebody.
Right.
Hey, that's your only college punch, man. You throw the
Yeah,
other.
man. With you, man. My only college fun was with you. We out there outside the party, and all of a sudden they ain't let nobody else in, and all the fellas inside, and it's like just me and you outside, and it's about 20 dudes out there.
Mhm.
So yeah, we you know, had to protect ourselves a little bit. So, but yeah, man.
All right, and then I asked Jay because he was here when we was there before we closed. I mean, can you talk about kind of like B Howard too, real quick? That was about for us. That was probably the first funeral that we went to.
Right.
From our teammates and stuff like that. And I mean, you talk a little bit about B Howard?
Yeah, Jay kind of hit on it too. I mean, B Howard was like, you know, super athletic. I mean, B Howard was cut, ripped up, 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot, fast, strong. I mean, a real good dude. I mean, you sit down and have a conversation with him. I think where B Howard struggled was, you know, from the mental aspect of the game. He would get real nervous and frustrated and had trouble processing information real quick. And so, we would be in the huddle, and him and I, let's say we both in there wide out, and they'd call a play, and when the guy don't know what to do in the huddle, all you gotta do is look outside. And B Howard had that little blank look. I'm like, B, you got a curl, man. So, but he would get real nervous, and if the coaches yelled at him, got on him, they knew that they could kind of fluster him. But other than that, if he knew what to do and when he's comfortable, he would just, I mean, he could tear it up. I mean, he would study film. He would be one of the guys that I see, like, basically studying Dre Rising.
Right.
I'm like, what you doing? He said, I'm watching film on Rising. He would be watching film on him running routes and breaking down coverages and that kind of stuff. So man, it was sad to see him go. But I think we all had great stories, and anybody, he would sit down and talk with anybody, and you would feel like he would make you feel comfortable, and that's kind of how B Howard was.
All right, and then now, so after all these years, you still seem to have a pretty good relationship with the coaches and stuff at the program.
Hmm.
Did you know D'Antonio from back when he was there the first time, or how'd you kind of maintain or strike up that, good relationship with him?
Right. Well, I think to answer you, I never played with D'Antonio when I think my junior and senior year. I played against D'Antonio when he was at Kansas. So he was I think a DB coach or defensive coach over there at Kansas, and we played him a couple of times. So he knew of me from that. And then there's always been a couple coaches who were from the old regime that kind of stuck around. And then you always go back to the main hold of the programs, which was Bob Knickerbocker, and then you had Jeff and Sally.
Right.
So whenever you went around the football building, that was the first places that I would stop in to see Jeff and Sally, see what's going on, what's the latest and greatest. Go see Bob Knickerbocker, see what's the latest and greatest. And then there was always one or two
Man,
coaches.
was Knickerbocker giving you some gear?
Not like Jay Green used to getting, I guess. I mean, Jay killing it, I guess. But no, I never tried to ask for much.
Right.
I just go in there and say hi to people and just try to just make sure I'm maintaining a relationship with people.
Right.
And so, but there was, like I said, there was always somebody who was on the staff that was there who knew me or from the previous staff. So that was kind of the end. And people, I guess a lot of people knew who I was. So that helped too. So.
All right, and then in closing too, can you talk about, I guess, the importance of having, like a former player that we know and stuff like that, and the value that Alan Haller brings to our program?
Yeah, I mean, Alan is a great guy. Also, I mean, whenever I go to Lansing, I make it I try to either make it in to see Alan, or I make sure that I go to lunch with him at least once a year. So when I'm in town, hey, let's just go to lunch and catch up, and I just let him know I appreciate him and appreciate what he's done for us as former players. And we also connect too, because we have two young sons that are about the same age. So they've gone to the Michigan State football camp a few times together, and we're able to hang out. But Alan has been a great resource. I mean, again, we had opportunity to play with Alan, so we know him personally from that standpoint too. And Alan was actually my recruiting
host,
my host on my recruiting trip. So, and I remember Alan from him and Darren Eaton and all them all the way back at Lansing Sexton, because we used to all go to the Michigan State football camp, and all the Sexton guys used to hang out together and try to run around, look pretty around the track, because they was all track guys. So I tease Alan a little bit about that. But yeah, Alan's great, and it's been great to me. If I need something, he's always been able to help me if it's within his ability. And like I tell Alan, whatever I can do for the program, if you need some sort of speaking engagement, or just come back and do anything to help the kids in the program now, I'm always willing to do that as well. So.
All right, and then Spartan Dawg, man, what does that mean to you, man? I mean, what is it then and now? The funny thing about it is, like, I used to talk to Myron. We a little bit older, but the crazy part about it used to just be defensive people, and then just because you played defense, you wasn't still a dog, you know what I mean, or whatever. Right. So it's just funny to talk to people that's been around kind of when it was, just a term and then got commercialized and stuff like that. So in your mind, what does it mean then and now, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, and I think all other guys have kind of, summarized it, the ones you've already talked to. But for me, it's just like a fraternity. It's like a brotherhood. I mean, it's funny because when we were in college, it seemed like I hung around with most of the defensive guys anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, you and Myron and Ricardo, and I mean, most of the guys I hung out with seemed like they were always on the defensive side of the ball for whatever reason. But so I never looked at it as offensive or defensive. But Myron, I always kind of looked at him as a big brother. And but in terms of the Spartan Dawg, I mean, it's just a brotherhood. I mean, you just feel a natural bond when we all come together. And even though you may not have talked to someone in 6 months or a year, as soon as you get back with them, it's like you picked up right from the following day, like you hadn't missed them. And I think that's what, that brotherhood, being the Spartan Dawg, is all about. I mean, we fought together, we won together, we lost together. And I think that bond makes it unbreakable. And, that's what it means to me.
All right, cool. And then so on social media or whatever, how can people, if you on there or any of your businesses, right, how can they follow you, or where are you at, man?
Man, I'm the wrong guy to ask about social media, man. I got to get better at that. I'm I don't even handle the social media account on our football side, but I know our website is Michigan Elite Football Club, MichiganEliteFootballClub.com. You know, my
Well,
horseman,
I was
this
about to say,
horseman.
give us your email, so at least if they're trying to catch
Yeah,
up with you, they can connect with you. And
right.
then,
I'm
like
gonna.
I tell people too, is like, I was talking to Greg Taplin. I never met him, and it's a lot of people that I talk to. We all Spartan Dogs, so we talk, and I think it's
Right,
important that people know that you approachable, Allen's approachable, Ike
right,
and D Mace and everybody else. So if there's anybody out there that need some of these services or need to talk to somebody that's been through some things, then you're available, right?
right. Yeah, definitely. The easiest email to get me at is millthrill6@gmail.com. So it should be pretty easy. Millthrills, the number 6 @gmail.com. And shoot me an email, reach out to me. And once I get myself up and going on social media, uh, I'll be easier to connect with.
All right, cool. So that's a wrap. All right, Thriller. I
All right,
appreciate it.
man.
All right,
All right.
bet.
All right. Bye.